Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ruth on Demand. I think you're going to enjoy this session today. We're going to go a little deep, the essence of what the heart of the topic is. So I heard this recently from an 8, possibly even a 9, figure amazing coach. And she said, your destiny is in how you talk to yourself behind closed doors. Now, I'm going to add that. Not only is it your destiny, but it's also your business, your book, all of that is how you talk to yourself behind closed doors. Now, isn't that an interesting concept? It's not how you talk to yourself, it's how you talk to yourself behind closed doors. What you say to yourself leads you to show up or not to show up. And this is both for your life, say destiny, for your business, for your book, for your income, for your business model, for your customer relations and customer service, all of it. And it's an interesting concept once again, because so many times have you met people, or have you felt this way at times, where you're all bubbly when you're out and about and talking to people, and then when you're home by yourself, you start to doubt yourself, you start to think you're a failure, you start to think that all of these emotions that limit you, they're big limiters. And the reality is none of them are true. Okay. So how do I look upside down? How fun is that? And so it's more than an attitude. And there's 4 types of attitude. And an attitude is pretty much attached to your personality, right? So there's positive attitude, there's a negative attitude, there's a neutral attitude, and then there's what's called a sickened attitude. I'm going to cough here. I had a poppy seed dessert with some coffee before I got on. So that is attitude, and we can be positive sometimes, we can be negative sometimes, depending on the circumstances, depending on the people we're with. We can be neutral. You know, when I think of a neutral attitude, I think of a therapist who just sits there and doesn't give you any feedback. That drives me nuts. And then there's this, what's called the sickened attitude. And that is probably the most dangerous one, because this is the one that's very, very deeply negative. Okay. All of these can be changed. And sometimes we just kind of weave through our life back and forth. Thank you. Depending on what our circumstances are, what has happened to us. Okay. Oh, that tastes great, Nick. Okay. But really what this is, it's how you show up. That's the piece that I want you, not sickened, it's sicken, S-I-K-K-E-N. Thank you for asking. And you know, it's a word that I didn't know until I started to check into it. I'd never heard of S-I-K-K-E-N. So you may want to look that up and you'll get a kind of an idea of what that is. So it's how you show up. This is so big, people. I can't even begin to share. You've heard, oh, show up full out. Okay, what does that even mean? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and I'm going to ask you some questions. So I have a client concierge, Rachel, who is amazing. And she has a situation, a family life matter. And yet she shows up. When I send her a text, I mean, I get a response usually within minutes. I'll send her an email and she immediately emails me back and says, done, or I've got it, or I'll do it, or this is what I came up with. Is this what you mean? That's showing up no matter what. She's there for me. And you know, it's interesting. I'm very fortunate because as my kids will tell you, I'm not big on excuses, simply not big on excuses. And so if someone wants to tell me an excuse, I listen, and it may be unfortunate, it may whatever it is, but it is what it is. And now what are you going to do about it? You know, as I was getting my master's in spiritual psychology as an adult, one of the things that really hit me when I was learning all about that is that it's not so much what happens to you, and we've heard this before, it's what you do with what happens to you. It's how you handle what happens to you. Another favorite spiritual quote for my profs were, it's not so much what the situation is, it's how you handle the situation. That's the issue. So the issue is not the issue, it's how you handle the issue is the issue. Think about that. And that's what we're talking about now. That's what we're talking about now. I remember years ago, I was at the gym downstairs, and at that time they had televisions and on a roller, and they were up there, but they were not positioned well at all. And so what happened was, I was getting off one of the machines, and I cut myself right there under my eye, and it was bleeding profusely. Freaked out for a few moments, called my daughter, said, "Naomi, I think you need to pick me up. I think I need to get some stitches." And so she comes and she picks me up. We're in the car going to the doctor. And I go, I have a class in about 30 minutes. And she looks at me, and I don't understand why she looks at me so strangely. She goes, "Mom, you just hurt yourself." It was like, I can just put something here and I can make my class. It's not a big deal. I remember I used to teach college when I was getting my first master's degree. And every October I'd lose my voice. Every October I'd lose my voice. Do you think I didn't show up for class? I showed up for class. I may have whispered, but I showed up for class. I had a nonprofit organization for 22 years. Many of you might know about that. We went into the high schools, and it was to help children help teens the ages of 15 to 19, 14 to 19, 15 to 19 with positive self-esteem. And we would set a beautiful table for them, and we would make them lunch. And one of the mentors, her name is Jeannie, my gorgeous Jeannie, she made this huge pot of soup. And as she was from her home, and as she was getting into the car, going to the Self-Esteem Council, the whole soup spilled over. Now, she could have called and told me what she did, tell the whole group, but she didn't. She went to the market and she picked up sandwiches. You show up. When I talk about showing up, I'm talking about showing up no matter what. I'm not one to cancel things. I used to be horrible at this and that. I wouldn't cancel anything. And then I started to get a little balance going, and I still can't handle the word cancel. It has to be reschedule, and it's about a balancing act, right? But you get the feel, you get what I'm talking about. So what are some ways, what are places, 3 places that you can show up more than where you are now? All right, and really it's about showing up. It's about standing up, showing up, speaking up. Okay, so I'm going to suggest that you decide 3 things that you're going to play full out for anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Ideally, at 6 months, there's a magic number, and that's 12 weeks. And many times, nothing really starts to transform, really, until you hit that 12th week. That's true for at least my experience with my clients, for myself. You're learning, you're implementing. Yes, you will have some wins, but to really get it in your bones, it takes 12 weeks. So I'm going to suggest you do this for a minimum of 3 months and going up to 6 months, and you choose. So where can you show up? And you might think, I don't know, Ruth, where can I show up? Well, are you making the income that you want to be making? If not, are you tracking your money every single day, even if it's a penny, even if it's $1? Are you tracking your money? Are you really focused on it? Are you coming up with programs or consulting? I call it a profit pyramid, so that you know exactly how many clients you need for this particular program or private coaching. And here's the deal, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. This is across the board: lawyers, doctors, coaches, healers. It doesn't matter. It's all the same in terms of showing up and being able to have a profit pyramid. Because if you don't know how many clients it takes at how many dollars, and you don't know who your ideal client is, and you don't know where they hang out, you're not showing up fully. You're not showing up fully for your income, for money. Or maybe you just simply, you just feel frustrated. You've done so many things, you're tired, and nothing seems to be working. Okay. How are you going to turn that around? Who do you need to talk to? Who do you need to have a chat with to turn that around? Has to do with money. What about you don't have the number of clients that you want to have? Okay. I was working with an attorney. I work a lot with attorneys, but in this particular case, I was working with an attorney, and he had a database of his existing clients, but he wasn't staying connected with his past clients. And something that most attorneys are very poor at is staying in contact with your existing clients. Because when you're going through a legal matter, your client is nervous usually, and they want to know what's going on. Well, how is that different than any other industry? Even someone in the financial world. My gosh, if my financial person called and said, Ruth, let's sit down and see where we can have some improvement, I'd be a happy camper. And the coaches that I have absolutely loved are the coaches that stay in contact with me. Um, Most recently, I invested heavily in some wonderful, wonderful coaches, and I'll get a DM, and she has a lot of clients, and I'll get a DM, and it's specifically for me. She's showing up for me. So do you think that I'm going to stay with her? Yeah. And do you think I'm going to show up even more for her since she's showing up for me? Absolutely. I mean, this goes, it shows its face everywhere. So let's say, for example, you want to increase your finances, your money. You want to increase clients. Maybe you want to increase some media attention. And media today is huge, right? It's social media platforms. It's live TV. It's streaming, and so what are you doing? How are you showing up? Are you showing up for the media? So right now, since probably the end of January, beginning of January, actually, I'm just blitzing social media platforms, all the platforms. I'm just blitzing them. And why am I doing that? Because today is a new world, and I want to find out which social media platforms are working best for me. And I can't do that unless I track it, right? I need to know how many likes, I need to know how much engagement, I need to know a lot of things before I know which ones to stick to and which ones not to do. Are you tracking that? Are you wanting to speak? That's a phenomenal way to increase money, clients, and the media. All right, what's the next part to that? Are you doing research? Are you doing research on where you could speak? Have you decided that you would like to speak once a week, once, twice a month? What are you doing about it? Have you even identified that? Are you getting on Google and searching where you can speak? Today, because of virtual, everything's can be virtual now. There's no explanation why you can't speak. You don't have to travel if you don't want. Okay. So are you doing the research for it? Are you following it up? Are you tracking it? Another great place is podcasts. So we're going to put here speaking, podcast, guesting. Are you doing research to be on a podcast? Now, you don't have to be on the super big ones. In some ways, I prefer to be on a small to a medium size. Chances are more people in some ways, your ideal clients might hear it or view it if it's with video as well. So what are you doing there? Are you showing up for yourself? Are you showing up to make more money if that's what you want? Are you showing up for attracting more clients? Are you showing up for the media? The other thing is, in terms of showing up, let's say you put together a schedule. Are you sticking to the schedule? Or are you really good about keeping meetings with others, but you're not so good about keeping dates for yourself, for self-care or exercising or walking or going to bed early? I can tell you, I was there. I was there before the pandemic, after my divorce, and I'd show up for others, but I wouldn't show up for myself. And I'll tell you, at some point, my personal integrity was not feeling good, and I didn't feel like I could depend on myself. That's a horrible feeling, to write a schedule or to say I'm going to do something and then I don't do it. It's just not a good feeling at all. And so if you're there, it's not a matter of beating yourself up and putting yourself down, because if that's what you say to yourself behind closed doors, that's what's going to show up for you. That's simply what's going to show up for you. Okay. And I have two more things here. Okay. So what are one or two social media platforms that you would like to show up consistently on? Okay. That's another way to do that. So I'm going to suggest that you identify where you're not showing up. Are you not showing up for clients? Are you not following up as often as you could? Because at the end of the day, that's going to be a referral source for you or not if you are following up. Okay, just as I had shared with you this one coach and then another coach. I went a little crazy with coaches at the beginning of the year, but I'm glad that I did, because I knew I had to show up in a different way and in a much bigger way than I had the last 3 years, since 2020. And in order to do that, and knowing that so many things have changed, I was willing and ready to invest my time and my money and my mind share and my schedule to show up. Okay. So I'm hoping that maybe one little piece there has kind of rocked you out a little bit. I love rocking you out. Just, if nothing else, to just think about it. And one of the more important things is to always, always track, because you cannot manage what you don't measure. All right. Hi, Elaine. Oh, now I get to do the fun part. I can't see the Zoom piece, but I can see, or maybe I can see on Zoom and not on Instagram. I don't know. All right. So let me share with you next week, I will be doing Ruth on Demand Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I may just for the heck of it turn Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday into a 3-day challenge during this same time, 2:30 Pacific. If there is a topic that you would like me to share with all of you, please send me a DM or email me, and please share these Ruth on Demands. I'm sure you have colleagues and friends that could really utilize some of this information. All right, until next time, bye.